Good evening. This is a topic I've been wanting to discuss for quite some time, and now that I am laid off, I've got time. Not supposed to really go anywhere, so I thought I would discuss somewhere we can go. The fifth dimension. I don't know what you'll make of this. Just sit back and listen, maybe. Some eccentric guy talking on your Instagram. Whatever. I'm going to do the best I can to explain this. I'm also going to talk very fast because my time is limited. So, let's begin. The world as we know it is a matrix. It isn't even real. It is, and yet it's not. I'm not even really here. I am, and yet I'm not. How could that be? Well, everything in the universe is energy. Atoms, molecules, particles, shit like that. Matter is the slowest moving energy. It is the densest energy. That is why it can be seen with the naked eye. However, so really between my avatar and this rock, there is no difference. And yet, I'm alive, I move. I'm more animated than this. How is that? Well, my dense energy has been coagulated by higher forms of energy, giving me life. What would some of these higher forms of energy be? Well, there's sexual energy, willpower, love, compassion, that's energy. Communication is energy. Thought, intuition, inspiration. What's that thing that makes my heart beat without me having to tell it? Or makes me breathe without me thinking about it? What determined what day I would be born, what day I would die? I think it would be safe to say that there's a lot more going on here on this planet than what meets the eye. Nevertheless, when I die, I will really only return back to this. The organs in my body are really no more than this, except they are being coagulated and animated by a higher form of energy and run by a computer, my brain. My brain takes in information that is going on around me and it downloads it. When I look at children, when they are born and they come out of the womb, that is as close as they could be to the source of creation. And spiritually, children are free. They don't give a fuck. It is the adults that kind of suck. It's the adults that say, don't do this, don't do that, shame on you, shame, shame, shame. Now, I'm not here to blame any parents because we are all doing the best we can under the circumstances we are living in. Nevertheless, that information is getting passed on to the child, and it is extremely unnatural. They take it in because their mind is a computer. Well, all of that shame goes into the mind, then sends a signal down into the body. The body then sends that signal back into the brain, and it becomes this loop that the child suddenly has. This is why children start to get conditioned and more shut down. Sat down in front of a dinner table, taking in meat and sugar. Now let's quit looking at these as foods that we like to enjoy and just look at it on the basis of it being atoms, particles, molecules, energy. The meat industry destroys every single thing it touches. It is the number one cause of climate change. I think we can all deduce, if you look at the footage of what goes on in one of those places, that is extremely negative energy. And when I am taking that in, it becomes a part of my body on a cellular level, as well as sugar. Sugar is unnatural to my body. It inflames my body, starts type 2 diabetes, and sends me off to Big Pharma that makes more money off of my disease by pumping me full of more chemicals that become part of me on a cellular level. I become sicker and sicker. Sit me down in front of a television and what is on TV? A program. Take that in, download it into the body. School, take that in, download it. Whatever religion, take that in, download it. And get out in the world. Whatever's happening in our world right now, take that in, download it. I guess the question I'd have to ask is Earth a fun place to live currently? Are we having fun? I liken all of these systems to a dog that gets out of a mud puddle. And what does a dog do when it gets out of a mud puddle? It shakes itself off. And what do I do when a dog gets out of a mud puddle and does that around me? I go, fuck! You're staining my clothes and my skin, only in this case, you are staining my soul. And then that gets written into my DNA, and then I have a child. And then the child inherits that DNA, as well as whatever chemicals happen to be going into my body at the time. So the whole thing becomes a loop, a self-fulfilling prophecy. The external world is just mirroring the internal world. The internal world is then getting shoved back out into the external world, back and forth. The question I was always asked as a child, well, is it nature or is it nurture? And what I will say, it is both. It is two gears grinding in a very, very big machine that has been going on for generations. However, what is the one thing that has not been present for those generations of gear grinding? The human chakra system. The best kept secret, the birthright nobody even knows they have. And when I activate my chakras, essentially what I am doing is I am picking up a big metal steel beam and I am grinding those gears into a halt. And suddenly I am just not in this anymore. In fact, I'm going to go over here. And the more I activate my chakras, I will awaken this energy that is laying dormant at the base of every single human being on the planet's spine, known as Kundalini energy. And as the Kundalini energy erupts, it is what is known as the Kundalini rising. It shoots up a tube in the spine that is also dormant and connects with the skull. And suddenly you are back online with the rest of the universe, and you are not in this. Now, my Kundalini rising experience, on a personal note, fucking rocked. It was like a rainbow went off inside of my body because each chakra is associated with a different color. As an artist, it's right up my alley. However, I have read accounts of it being a horrible, terrifying experience, and I could understand that because Kundalini energy only has one goal, and that is to purify and cure your body and purge you of this unnatural creation. And depending upon how tied I am to it spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically, is how painful it will be to let go of it and how scary new possibilities will be. Eventually what happens, however, is I experience much more of an ego death. I don't lose my ego completely. The volume just gets turned down quite a bit and I suddenly grow more spiritually. Now what Kundalini energy feels like, it's sort of like chi. It's about this big. It burrows through my muscle tissues. It's like a deep tissue massage. It never shuts off and opens up energy channels, and whatever, negativity is there, it just sort of releases, thus calming my muscles, changing the signal getting sent to the brain, then changing the signal the brain sends down into the body, and suddenly my mind and body are a lot more quiet, and I am open to receiving the rest of the universe and the rest of the information going on around me. I begin what is known as the ascension process, and as I become lighter and my output becomes more happier and altruistic because I'm not being bogged down by all of this negative energy, I just vibrate a lot higher. What I attract into my life shifts. It becomes a lot happier. I just kind of don't really even want to fuck with this anymore. Not that it's not happening. I wouldn't be here talking if I didn't take what's happening seriously. You do not become a mystic or a shaman to jerk yourself off. You do it to help your community. However, what I realized as I ascended was that everything runs off of a vibration. This is what Tesla knew. And the higher you vibe, the better things you attract. I did this, as this was happening to me, I would tell my friends about it, and they would take it home and they would try it out. And none of them stuck with it, but they all reported, only one of them stuck with it, but what they reported was the same thing. They would cry really bad because you're dealing with generational trauma now. It's going to bring you to your knees. I'm not going to lie, it's extremely painful, but once it's out, it's out. And then suddenly something in their life that wasn't working just kind of would, because they had cleared their energy and they were now vibrating high so they could attract that sort of a thing in. It's kind of like if you've ever been around a drunk homeless people that are arguing and having the most inane argument. You couldn't even take an argument like that seriously, but yet to them it's very real. Why is that? Well, because their vibe is low. You're vibrating too high. It doesn't resonate. Nevertheless, your partner can piss you off without even trying. And why is that? Well, because your energies are enmeshed. You're both on the same frequency, so you're picking up what they're putting down, whereas to this person it doesn't even register. It's kind of like that. If you've ever been around a person and you're like, I just don't like their vibe, this is what you're picking up on. You're picking up on their energy, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. We're all just conductors walking around. Now, fear contracts and love expands. And right now we are living in a planet and in a world that is very, very fear-based. And the external world is just mirroring that back to us. And our planet cannot sustain itself. So what I think needs to happen to help heal the planet is that basically humanity collectively needs to purge our shit and start having more fun. And I know that sounds like a very childish and simple solution to a very adult and complex, serious problem. And what I am going to say to that is this. You're right, it is a very childish solution to a very adult, serious, complex problem. But the question I am going to ask you is this. On a personal note, I am an alcoholic. It is my natural state to be drunk and inebriated. Yet today I have zero desire to drink alcohol. How did this happen? Did it happen by me denying I had a problem, nursing my resentments, fucking people over, having no hope in anything, and then getting hammered, waking up, doing it again the next day? Or did it happen by me admitting I had a problem, seeking help from something bigger than me, finding other people who had solved their problem on a spiritual basis, turned around, made restitutions for harms done, then turned around and helped my community do the same sort of thing? Which one kept me sober? Right. Point being, not look at me and what I'm doing with my life. Point being is the solution had nothing to do with the problem. The solution does not resemble the problem. Yin does not resemble yang. One does not look like the other, and yet you need both because you cannot have one without the other. And right now we are here and we need to launch over here. Look at it like a bow and arrow. The soul is the arrow. My body is the archer. Life is the bow. We're going to go into darkness. Now remember, in darkness, the bottom is wherever you stop digging. So, okay, the planet can't sustain itself. We're all going to die of climate change. Oh my God, this is pretty bad. Have you had enough? I sure fucking have. I let go and then the arrow soars. Conscious awareness of my soul's own immortality. In the fifth dimension, none of us run away from the fact that there is darkness. There is darkness in the world. In fact, what we do is we run into it, we embrace it, and we love it. This is how you transmute energy, because energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transmuted, and what you resist will persist. This is why evil can parade itself around in broad daylight and nothing gets done about it. So the universe is yin and yang. You need both, however. You do not get one without the other. You have to have total acceptance of both. So what I'm going to leave it is this. If things could really be this bad, and things really are that bad, it stands to reason they can also be that great. But I can't make anybody do any of this, and I know that. But this is my life. And this is my Instagram, and I'm going to talk about my truth. So I'm just going to lay this down at your feet. Do with it what you will. If anything, pass some time during our quarantine. From my heart to your heart, believe me, I love you. And to everyone who is in a real lockdown over in Europe and stuff, my heart and my thoughts are with you. Absolutely. I love all of you on my Instagram. Have a wonderful evening. Namaste.